Hello, Claire here for English Academy 2000. Last week, I talked to you about how you can use a color coding system and some vocabulary flashcards to really quickly increase your vocabulary. Now, I also mentioned that even when you're doing vocabulary memorization with something simple like flashcards, you always want to use extra context with the words you're learning. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how to increase context for your vocabulary words. The more context you have or more connections to other words or other ideas you can make with new words, the faster you will be able to remember them. So to remember new vocabulary, two key things: repetition, like we talked last time, and context, which I will talk about today. One way we can add context to our vocabulary words is to learn them in chunks or groups of words that you will often hear together. So, for example, if one of the words I'm learning, this is one of my Chinese vocabulary words, and one of the words on here is to sell. Now, instead of just putting the word to sell, I have the entire phrase that something is sold out. 买完了. If something is 买完了, it's sold out. The store does not have it anymore. Now, I already knew these two characters when I tried to learn the first one. So connecting a new word with something I already know helped me to learn this word much faster than if I were trying to learn it on my own without any context or other words I already knew connected to it. Another way using context can help you is learning more words quickly by putting them together. So I had done a lesson on turning things on and off or opened and closed. And in Chinese, they're the same. So you need to pay attention to the grammar of English or whatever language you're learning, because I also learned in that lesson the word for window. Instead of making 3 cards, one for closed or off and one for on or open and a separate one for window, I only made 2 cards. One for close the window, one for open the window. Now, if I learn these together, first of all, I'm connecting 2 words together, so I'll learn them faster, and I'll be able to use them more quickly because that's a phrase that I can immediately put into use in English, or in this case, in Chinese. Another one is if you have just a brand new word, you can use context to not only help you learn the word faster by connecting to something you already know, but if you connect it to another word that you learned recently or not a long time ago, you can use this to review and keep new words fresh in your brain. So last time I talked about how words that we know very well, we put in a separate pile to not review every day. So here's my green words from last week. These are ones I am done studying. I think that I know them well enough, I don't need to study them anymore. Now, if I stop using them completely, eventually I will forget them. One of the words in this pile is the word for to wear, like to wear clothing. If I'm going to learn a word like blue, when I do my flashcard, I'm not just going to say what the sound of the word is and that it means blue. In my mind, I'm going to put it in a sentence and also, on purpose, include some of my words that I learned recently. So, in my brain, in Chinese, when I see this card, instead of saying, oh, that means blue, I'm going to say blue. I'm wearing a blue shirt. So, don't just think about what does the word mean. Think of an example sentence you can use that word in, and try to use some words in that sentence that you learned recently. This will help you always be reviewing words that you have learned so you don't forget them. We always circle back to words we have learned. This is also why I have 2 levels of green words that are out of my study pile. I have green words that I know for sure I don't ever have to learn again. I know them like that. The first time a green word comes out of the study pile, it goes into a stack that I only pull out maybe one time a week. If I go through that whole stack and there's any words in there that I don't know very well anymore, maybe I thought I knew them very well, but now I have forgotten, they go back into my study pile for that week. Now, the words that I can use in context with other words do not end up going back into the study pile, because the more you use a word, the better you will be able to remember it. So, review. Ways to increase context so you can remember words better. Learning words in pairs or groups so that you're connecting more than one new word together will help you learn both new words faster. Learning words in a phrase or a chunk of words together to connect a new word to a word you know very well will help you learn the new word faster. Or using a new word in a sentence with words you learned recently will help you review and keep old words fresh in your mind while you are learning a new word. All of this can happen silently in your brain while you are studying flashcards. Okay? Next week, we will take a break from this technical language and we'll talk a little bit about idioms in English, or phrases and expressions you might hear from people out on the street that don't really make sense when you're learning English. We'll break some of those down for you next week. See you next time.